Richard III, Act 1, Scene 1. Here, this is again one of those one of the extremely famous parts of Shakespeare, and and it is one of the things that Milton would have underlined, because the Richard III's soliloquies are reminiscent of Satan's speeches in Paradise Lost. As I said, that Milton was inspired by Shakespeare's way of treating evil, and yeah, we're going to look at that when we look at Paradise Lost. But now, in order to introduce this, Richard, this is now as the winter of our discontent is, well, it's something that is quoted all the time in English. Does someone feel up to it? To reading? In that case, I will go. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by the sun of York, and all the clouds that lured upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking glass, I that am rudely stamped and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph. Okay, so first of all, you understand what he means by to court an amorous looking glass, right? But you know what a looking glass is?
The thing that sailors use?
It's basically a mirror. So just like you have Alice through the looking glass, that's the mirror, when Alice goes through the mirror. And so he's not made to court an amorous looking glass. And what would it mean, an amorous looking glass? How would the mirror be amorous? It would be it if he was beautiful. If he was good looking, then the mirror would love him, you know. But he's not. Do you know about like Richard III? What was his physical condition?
He had a deformity. He had hunchback.
Hunchback, yeah.
Hunchback, yeah.
He's a hunchback. He's a cripple.
Yeah.
He's ugly. That's the idea. And when it says that now, you know, when it says now the winter of our discontent has become summer by the son of York, what does he mean by the winter has become summer? What has been going on here?
A war.
Yeah, a war. The war of the roses, and so it was between the houses of York and Lancaster, and so when he said that it has become glorious summer by this son of York, it means that the York has won, right? And he comes from the house of York. So let's get I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of features by dissembling nature. So you see, so the others are having fun, the others are, having sex, and they're having parties and playing music and everything, and he's just looking at them, and he doesn't have any happiness in their victory. Okay, and this is also something that we will see with Satan in Paradise Lost. Cheated of features by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world, scarce half made up. Sent before my time, right? Born too early, not a complete human being, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to spy my shadow in the sun and descant on mine own deformity. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover, to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days. Plots have I laid, inductions dangerous, by drunken prophecies, libels, and dreams, to set my brother Clarence and the king in deadly hate, the one against the other. And if King Edward be as true and just as I am subtle, false, and treacherous, this day should Clarence closely be mewed up about a prophecy which says that of Edward's heirs the murderer shall be. Dive thoughts down to my soul. So, yeah. You get the drift of this. Yeah. Yeah.
But isn't, I might say something stupid, but isn't Satan beautiful in Paradise Lost? Because I've heard somewhere that this whole concept of Satan being beautiful started with Paradise Lost. I've heard that before that there were those paintings of Satan being an ugly beast, and then when Paradise Lost came, I've heard that they shifted to this idea of Satan being beautiful.
Okay, so that's a very good question. The interesting thing about that is that Satan in Paradise Lost, he starts out as the first angel. So he is the highest angel in God's heaven. And he is, he's the bringer of light, Lucifer, and he is very, very bright. But what Satan does is that he sees himself as being so high that he is higher than God, and therefore he rebels. So what Milton wanted to do was also to give the devil his due.